His belly. Alright, get both of you in there. Okay, so this is where this comes from. I was listening to a podcast the other day. It's a guy who speaks only to men's issues.
Where there's so many, so.
And he had he's a host and he interviews people all the time about men's issues. And one day he had his son interview him. That was actually really cool. And I've heard, James Dobson switched from focus on family to family talk, and he started that with his son. And so once in a while they were doing an interview with him and stuff like that. That was kind of cool. And then I remember talking, with Grandma and thinking, man, there's a lot of things I wish I could have asked her when she was lucid to a degree, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the guy said to his son, he goes, man, you ask questions constantly. He goes, first thing I thought of when you said you want to interview me is, what could you ask me that you haven't already asked me? And I thought probably a number of questions would come out differently in kind of a formal setting. So I'll ask you a couple questions, then I'll let them ask you a question, and we'll just see how it goes.
Okay.
All right. I have a bunch of them. We don't have to hit all.
I see that.
And you can have some.
I might have to go out of the room for this if she's got to be honest.
And
After 47 years, there's probably not too much you don't know.
Right. And you can pass if you want, but I don't. You
How many
just don't pass
passes
the
do I
whole
get?
time.
One pass.
But there's nothing
that's
here that
all
should
you
be too
get.
hard for you. I try to keep it pretty low key and easy for you.
How'd you get the nickname Viper?
Are you serious? Honestly, I have no idea. Your dad's imagination, right?
All right. Let's start with an easy one. What was your first job?
What's my first job? Babysitting. But my real job?
Yeah, first real
Dental
job.
assistant.
Oh, it was?
Yep. Right out of high school, I was hired as a dental assistant.
And how long did you do that?
3 years until Josh was born.
Like an office
But she
assistant?
found out it was good to
Dental
have her
assisting
father
chair
as
side.
a policeman
You did?
or former policeman because she used to take the road over Heil and
I could do that on a
she'd get a ticket about once a week.
Did you get a bunch of tickets going?
Not as many as he's
She'd
saying.
go, Dad, get this ticket taken care of.
Twice? What? 2 tickets or twice he took care of them for
I
you?
think 3 times.
Then he took care of them for you?
Yeah, but I would have rather taken care of him myself
Oh, yeah. Then why'd you ask him to?
because I didn't want to take care of myself.
And what kind of car were you driving when you did that?
69 Camaro,
And
fruit
what?
pork colors, blue with white racing stripes. It was a Camaro SS.
Well,
Super
I-
sport. Yes, super sport. Now it's worth a lot of money.
In the early stages, you were driving a Buick. You were,
Oh, I was.
you were swearing that you were driving a Chevy, but it was like
It was
a
a
62 Buick.
Biscayne. Was it Biscayne?
No, it wasn't not a
Well, it
Biscayne.
was a really cool car that Uncle Chuck left for
It was a
me.
biscuit.
It was baby blue, and then he jacked it up, and it was like yellow.
I thought that was the
and-
Camaro.
No, it was
No,
yellow.
we
Camaro
bought
was
the
fruit
Camaro
pork
after we were
colors.
married.
Really?
We
Yeah.
were dating.
Uh-huh. I thought the Camaro was the one you got from Uncle
You
Chuck.
don't have to edit because Dad's gonna edit.
That's cool. All right. Okay. That worked.
Love that.
All right. So you quit that job when Josh was born
Mm-hmm.
just to be home with him.
Yes.
Any regrets ever having quit that job?
Is that
No.
sound gonna happen every time Mom gets a question right?
Ding. Why are you answering no for that?
I'll let her tell you.
Because the dentist was out of line.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So for, out of your
Now-
first job right
now
away, you
he
had a
would be
pig
in
for a
big
boss?
trouble. Pardon?
You had a pig for a boss?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm.
What was his name?
Colonel Winnick.
His name was Colonel?
He's not going anywhere.
Who's for us?
Post
This
it
for
on
us.
Facebook.
I just need to know who I have to go after, Mom.
Well, I thought your dad was going to.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. I never heard that story.
Mhm.
What was your best job? What was your favorite job?
Oh, the school. I love the school. I love working with my granddaughters, right? And the one especially would always get out of gym
Oh,
class.
did you know
to
that
come
that
see
she was their
Mhm.
teacher for a while?
I was their computer teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to
I know,
get,
lucky.
I
Hey,
used
that's
to
all right.
get,
You have Miss Summerfield, her teacher.
Every day.
They haven't missed a Summerfield for a
Every
teacher?
day.
You haven't missed a
Every
Summerfield
day.
teacher.
I used to get
25
concussions.
years.
Mrs. Sunshine.
So I couldn't go outside for recess and I couldn't do gym. So I would walk out of gym class and go down to the computer lab.
It was great. It was great.
She liked your concussion.
Hey,
Yeah.
I mean,
I had it for a teacher too.
Mhm.
So I had my mom for a teacher.
Yep.
We did too.
You have your mom for a teacher.
yeah.
Mhm.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
let's just leave it at that.
You have the
Like,
other Mrs. Summerfield.
She had about 24 hours to decide whether to take that job.
And that was, the Lord opened that.
How did that work out?
The principal at that time was John Hall,
Yep.
was a wonderful Christian man.
I remember.
And
He used to play basketball with me after school and
yeah,
club.
it was pretty cool. I remember when he played basketball the first time and Josh knew that he was gonna play, you know, and they were just cracking out like, Mr. Hall's gonna play basketball, you know, it's, old man's gonna, oh my gosh, they had such respect for him after they saw him play.
Yeah, 'cause he was older.
Oh, he was.
He was older.
He was a wonderful man, and he knew that I was very involved in school with you kids at that time, like from the beginning, because my mom couldn't be. That was important for me to be there when I could. And I had taken, sidebar, I'd taken a intro to computers class just because I thought it would be interesting. He found that out. Absolutely, the Lord, but he found that out. So I was walking down the hall one day, and he said, "Can you come talk to me?" And I thought, what child is in trouble?
And there was no computer.
AJ.
There was no computer courses at the time.
Oh no.
Right. Nothing.
Well, there was an intro to computers like at the college. No, I got it. I took that.
You mean through OV?
At OV.
Right. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, we were the first in this part of the state to have computers for elementary in 1986, and actually people from Lansing came to view our program. So that was really
That's
sweet.
really cool.
Anyway, he called me into his office and he said, "I heard you've been taking classes for computers." I said, "I just took one little class, you know, but I really like it." And he said, "We are opening up a computer lab." And he said, the woman who had the job does not want the job. And I found out later only because it was in the basement and she was claustrophobic.
Really?
That's how I got the job.
Oh, that's funny.
That's how the Lord opened the job for me.
It's 2 times
And I was just doing a job on the side for Nabisco.
I remember that because I remember you used to bring home bonkers.
Oh, Josh just talked about that the other day. That gum that was 2 different flavors.
Yeah.
And,
Was it bonkers?
maybe it was.
I think it's bonkers.
Yeah. So you guys always got the.
We got your samples.
Yep, you got it before anybody, before
Yeah.
I ever hit the streets.
Yeah.
Did you make red and gray night?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I heard that the other day.
Yeah, that's a real sweet spot for me. Very sweet for me because it's still going on after 26 years.
It's a big deal
It
every
is.
year for the athletes.
Yeah.
Did you know where that came from?
What?
What was your impetus to doing it?
Oh yeah. Well, let me back
Okay.
a minute to how I got the job. So I
Yeah.
got the job, and we were trained on the job. I had never worked in a school, and basically we were on our own, and then we just had ongoing classes.
What age were you at?
Well, you were. Let's see.
I would have been 6.
You were 5 or 6. I would not go back to. I had to go back to work with my other children, but I wouldn't go back to you were in school full time. If I
You
didn't
went
have
back to work when Kelly and Josh were there?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you weren't.
No,
Okay.
I said that wrong. I didn't want to go back to school.
Right. Until I was
to
in
work
school.
with you.
Right.
Yeah, and then it was a blessing to be able to be where you were, and Kelly
Mm-hmm.
was. But so I worked that job from 1986 until retirement in 2012, and the Lord closed the door. The way He closed that was, excuse me, in 2011, the state came out with an incentive, and they said, excuse me, if your age and the years that you worked equal 80, you could retire and have your insurance subsidized forever.
Wow.
Dad being self-employed, our insurance was through the roof, which you know. So he amazingly opened that door for me. He closed it the same way. And I actually got an extension. We found out, Carl and I were online in between, time before we would go to work, we're calling each other on the phone in the morning and getting all this information. And I had to get online with someone from Lansing, and they just in passing happened to mention, I can't think of
Stop the double dipping.
an extension that 5 people in the school could have an extension and they could retire but work 1 more year. So I was
Oh.
granted that, and
You got retirement and you were able to get your pay for a year
well, I worked. I
Right,
worked. I
right.
was still able to work.
and get retirement at the same time.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
Well, the
crazy.
retirement didn't stop. start till
Right.
until afterwards.
Oh, but you were able to get the
Yeah.
deal that they had.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
And my age in the years I worked just equaled 80.
Oh.
They just equaled 80.
It's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? God
Mhm.
opened that door and he closed that. That's the same way you did for my mom, for your grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because my dad left,
Right.
and then she had to find a job, and she went to business school, and she struggled, but she worked really hard, and her teacher had mercy on her, and it was God's favor, and called someone from Viking and said, "Would you please give this woman a chance? She's just a very wonderful person. She's now a single mother, which you didn't see that much then." And gave her a job, and then she retired at 72. At 72, she retired. Yeah.
Wow.
Which I had planned on retiring like in my 60s, but in 2012, Grandma took a fall, and I had my application out right away in hospitals in different places. Well, the last 16 months, I had vertigo, so I couldn't go to work, and then Grandma fell, and I took care of Grandma.
That was in 2012.
She could have got disability if she would have just gave into it and fell on the floor.
You know, so
But
I had a lot
She
of
fought
people.
through it and stayed upright most of the time, and they said, well, because you
were able
went to
work.
work and stayed upright most of the time, we can't give you this.
Did they literally say that
But
to
if
you?
you would have
Wow.
stopped,
Mhm.
you could have
Wow.
retired, got disability early on, and instead-
Didn't know that, but that
which
would have
pays
been
a lot more in
Alice, would've-
disability
right?
than it does
Yeah.
retiring early.
Well, at a certain point that would have evened out, but Bonnie kept saying you need to file for disability, and Dad said that, so I finally did, and it was a stack of papers like that. And then at the time that it finally looked like I could get it, they said no, because, and in a certain way, the lady I talked to was apologetic. They said, because you were able to stay on the job, in the past 4 months of my job, I only stayed literally on my feet by taking medicine, and medicine that made me tired, and a ton of coffee, so I worked through that, because that's kind of the example we had with our parents,
Right.
and you have,
And it's just
I
what
believe
you
with your
do.
parents, it's work ethic,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why the disability didn't come. Abby, you asked about
Yeah.
Red and Gray. Kelly was in high school, your dad, I don't know if you were in high school yet, was 72. In 92, the first one was in the
I
year
was in
91,
8th grade.
92, okay. Okay, then Kelly would have been in high school in AJ, so
Josh would have been in high school too. He
Josh,
graduated 92.
Yep, that was his senior year. So 91, 92, he graduated 92,
93.
92,
92, yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
Kelly was 94,
Yeah.
yep, and then 97.
Kelly was 93.
Yeah.
94. Yeah. 92, 94, 97.
Yep, 2 years apart. But they always honored, like before school would start, they always did something to honor the football players
At Fruitport or at OB?
at OV. And I thought that was really nice, but the band kids never, and your aunt was a cheerleader, so she was honored, but she was also in the band, and I wondered why the band
She
didn't
was
get
the
honored.
color guard
She was,
flag.
yep, color guard. And I wondered why the rest of the athletes didn't, weren't honored, so I asked about that. So I went to the principal, and he said to me, that's a really good point, Mr. Brothers, who was also my 6th grade teacher.
Was he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
yeah. He had a yellow GTO, it was really cool.
that.
It was
A
really,
GTO, yeah.
yeah, yellow GTO, that was really cool. So anyway, he told me
That's
to
right, that's right.
contact Mona Shores, because Mona Shores did a blue and white night, and they honored everybody. So, and it would never have been one person doing it, but I went to the Booster Club, and everybody jumped on board. Remember that first year we were just nerve-wracked, but it was
Sure.
so cool.
Sure.
It was just awesome. And so it was the cheerleading coach, Debbie B and Debbie Schrader, a lot of people helped out.
Kissels.
Oh yeah, because Kissels were head of the Booster Club, and they were such a good
Always,
family.
now we work, get rosters together and
Yeah,
get everything in
summer,
order, and,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure nobody's left out.
a lot of stuff is, went on, so.
Yeah.
This
The
is-
first time was just
It was just sweet.
hours.
Yeah. This is when I realized that I don't get to leave things till everybody else is gone. As a kid. Because when.
Oh,
Cause
I realized that when I was like 2. You're
Yeah.
not any better.
and so I'm the same way.
he's-
Like running and stuff all the time. And RJ, you said to me, I think RJ said, we ran that marriage retreat.
Yeah.
Recently.
yeah, that was wonderful.
Do you guys run everything in the church? No.
Yeah.
No.
They
But-
leave last.
But that's that's what I specifically remember. I think really realizing it there, because thousands of people are there, and we're the last ones to leave.
Yeah, made you feel special, didn't it?
It made me feel like, why do I got to stay here
Right.
this whole time? What I remember about Red and Gray is our pictures, you and me together, because we have
Every
pictures.
year.
We have pictures when I was the first one was ninth grade, so I was 5 feet tall, and so here stand up next to Mom for a minute. Put your arm over him, Sarah, over him. So that's how we looked
In ninth grade.
when I was in ninth grade.
Pretty darn close.
It looked about like that.
That was
And
just
then
about like that. He said to
now
me,
you put your arm over her.
So then it was like.
But
that.
no, stand up, because my arm was up still.
Oh,
Way up.
Right? It was up like that.
oh, really?
And then
Yeah, beginning of sophomore year.
and then it was
Then it was like.
some years down here, and now RJ stand on the hearth and put your arm around her. The next time we did, no, that's how it was our junior year.
Yeah,
And then after that, my senior year was even taller than that. We have all those pictures in the uniform. So.
that was really cool. Like some
Yeah.
people have a mark on their wall. We have the mark from Red and Green.
Yeah, that was-
That'll be Caleb Kozel. That'll be him.
Yeah, that kid's growing
So
up.
the second year that we did it, thought it'd be really fun to invite the young children, the youth clubs. So then the youth clubs started coming,
Oh
and
my
they were
goodness.
so proud to be with the big football
I bet.
players and the big cheerleaders. It was
Oh
just
my
so cool.
goodness.
So it went from like maybe, several hundred people to about 1,200 people.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was just sweet. It was a wonderful way for the kids to see each
You're
other.
saying 1,200 people plus the parents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Correct. Right.
yeah, yeah.
Did you see what they did recently during
Yes,
everything
for the
for
seniors.
It was almost like similar to a red and gray, but they
Yeah,
stayed in
the
the cars.
procession. Yeah, that was precious. We feel so sorry for our seniors.
Yeah.
Your daddy, when he started getting taller, I remember Red and Gray specifically. We were down by the concession stand, and I remember someone going, "AJ, is that you?" Because he was the second shortest in high school
Yeah.
in his freshman
Yeah.
year. Sweetest.
Yeah, Terry Puffer's the only one
Yeah,
showing.
We had some kids like that in our school too.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let RJ read your question. Read your first one there. Right at the bottom. Right by your name.
Oh. Did you do any sports?
Cheerleading
You were a cheerleader. How old were you when you started cheerleading?
in ninth grade. Ninth grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ask her what she cheered for.
What did you cheer for?
The wrestling team.
I don't know.
When you are on the wrestling team, I will be your biggest cheerleader. Yes, I will. Right along with Papa. Yeah. I was too chicken to try out for the
Too intense
football.
for me. They kicked me out. They won't let me go back and watch anybody wrestle.
For good reason.
The ref got mad at me and come and talk to me afterwards.
Hey, tell that
I
story.
believe it.
Tell that story.
Why
That's
did
a
he
great
get mad
story.
at
I believe it.
Because the
As
ref
being
handled.
a
Because the ref
ref.
handled it really well.
They
He
did,
sure
that was
did.
an amazing lesson. AJ appeared to have a guy in a pin position.
Let's be honest.
For a
I
long-
had him.
For a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just went on and on and on. And the ref, right there, but he wouldn't call it. I thought he says, "You're not a ref, you're just a clown in a striped suit."
Oh,
Very-
card.
Very
leave the
loudly.
facility.
It echoed. It bounced off the walls in the gym.
You know, Abby's a ref now.
So after the match was all
Yeah.
over, we're just still sitting there, and he came up and sat down next to me, and he said, "You're right." He said, "You can see better up here than I can down there."
That's a pretty cool cucumber right there.
He started walking up to Papa, and I thought, oh, oh my, I can't.
Here we
I
go.
can't watch
This face.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know how he knew I was the one that said it.
Because it's probably not the only thing you said.
Your dad only heard me once that I know of, and he was in a tournament at state. We were at Michigan State or wherever. And your dad claims that he was in the locker room when he heard me yelling to the ref. I can't remember what I yelled.
You were
That's
yelling
funny.
at the ref when he was
Yeah,
in the
like-
locker room?
No,
For
when
someone else, like for someone else.
he's saying he was in the, you're saying he was in the locker room. He could hear my
I
mom
think it
yelling
was
at
something
her.
like, "Come on, yes, that was a pin." I said it very gently.
You were a
Very
dick.
gently.
So you know where I get it.
Right?
Right.
It's just like, well, it wasn't fair.
All right. I'm gonna jump around on topics too. So we talked about jobs. Let's say, growing up, what did you think you wanted to do for a living? computers weren't even around yet. So.
Well, that kind of dates me, doesn't it? I can't remember, but probably would have been teaching.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I also wanted to be a pastor's wife.
Really?
I did. No, I don't mean, no, I mean, I didn't mean to laugh
Really?
like that.
I mean, who says that?
Well, I just kind of laughed because the person I told that to was, I did not have a crush, but was the pastor's son.
Oh.
You
You're
didn't
gonna be a pastor? I
have
want to be a
a
pastor's wife.
We were really little.
So,
Oh, it's
you know
about
what
to
I
be.
want to do? I want to be a pastor.
She didn't say that. She didn't say that till just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And I
That's because you weren't the pastor that she was talking about at the time.
I was little, very innocent. And I also wanted to play the piano.
Me
I
either.
Really?
used to sit in church and we had the seats that folded up and I would fold my bench down or the seat down and I'd prop up a book and I'd pretend like I was playing piano.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So you know the Lord puts things in us when we're,
Yeah.
even when we're young or when we're born. You
What
know.
age did you start playing piano?
Well, when I was babysitting for the Babbitts, and I was about 15 or 16, I started plunking it out on the
It is the
piano.
Babbitts that own that, or own the Babbitt
Yes.
Sports Center?
Yeah, Babbit Sports Center. And then when we were dating, there was a word that came that I had, and it had to be from the Lord because Grandma Doris knew nothing about this. Your dad knew nothing about this, but said that I had a latent talent for the piano.
Oh, and you weren't playing piano? So when did you actually pick it up and start playing?
Took a couple lessons, and
At what age?
we were still dating, probably about 18 or 19.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, took a couple lessons and bless the churches, the people of the church, they had to listen to the same hymns for a couple weeks in a row. That's just awful. I felt so bad. I tried to play a little faster. So about the fourth or fifth time I
This
went,
is Amazing Grace fast. This is Amazing Grace slow.
Well, we do sing it different ways.
Yes,
don't
we do.
Yeah.
Could you imagine someone like, the Spirit's just leading me, let's do this song? No.
I don't know that one.
I don't got I'm gonna have to quench that.
I know these three. Pick from these three.
Yeah,
You can go play, you can
uh-huh.
come.
I would say just lay your hands on me, pray and believe.
That's
Right?
funny. That's funny.
So after that, I was explaining it to my piano teacher, and she said, "We're going to do this differently. I'm going to teach you evangelistic style," which was sweet.
Courting and
Yes, courting and stuff. But I always kind of miss the fact that I really didn't learn the keyboard. Like Chaley has the keyboard, and you have the
oh,
keyboard.
but I hated doing piano lessons when you had me doing this jig.
Oh, so did Kelly. And then
Wait,
she
what
said
did you do?
then
What
she-
age did you have me doing?
I didn't know you had lessons, I thought you just played by ear.
I don't know anything about my lessons.
You were in
I had
grade school.
lessons too.
Yeah, I would have been elementary,
Yeah, we didn't get
and I
lessons.
probably didn't have more than 5 lessons or something like that.
Yeah.
And what was her name out in Reese Puffer?
Diana
Diane.
Mao.
And I
She's
hated
really
it.
good.
And they tried to make me practice, and I could do this. Do 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 do
Okay,
do
but
do 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 do
when
do.
did
And
we
dun
have
dun 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 dun. You know.
And
But
Charles did.
That.
yeah,
When we were
no, it
really
was
little.
not
Especially
fun
when I
for
was
me.
doing
So
hip-hop gymnastics and cheer at the same time.
so you brought up
You could take me a ballet. So hey, go do piano.
you brought up that the Lord puts things in you early on. So
Go to ballet.
I did have this question. Did you have any inkling or thoughts to what Josh, Kelly, or I would do for a living
Ooh.
or in life?
Well, you would be an artist, right?
I don't know. You tell me. I'm asking what you thought.
Yeah, absolutely, because you had that artistic. I didn't know what you'd do with it, but you had that artistic talent when you were just little. Kelly, I knew it would be something with children.
Really?
And Josh probably in business, but I did not know. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but Kelly loved children. She was attracted to children, and children were very attracted to her.
Did you see Camden going into?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Well, listen, I 100% did.
I did too.
I did because I knew Ken was something with old people.
That, yeah, that's
Absolutely. He's
And
been
he does
great.
it.
He
And
has
he
been
does it
great
really
with that.
well. And
Absolutely.
he has.
I mean, I thought he was
He's
gonna
an
date
expert
one,
with
but
that.
He does. Yeah.
that's
He has a gift of comfort people for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Abby, you have a question for it.
Which one of the
Whatever.
3?
Pick one.
I don't remember.
Okay,
Number
that's go
1.
get your phone then. Okay, then you know yours.
No, I don't.
Okay.
They're in my phone.
All right.
She has hers in her pocket. Unless you want
Okay. While they're figuring that out, I'll ask you another one. Was there something that your parents did when you were a kid that you swore you would never do yourself?
Well, my dad was around till I was 5, but my mother.
He said my dad was a rental. My dad was a rental.
Well, my dad wasn't, he just wasn't there in my formative years, but, yes, my mother, I said I would never take a hanky and spit on it and wash my child's face in church.
You don't think
I
you
thought
ever
you were
did
gonna
that?
say.
You never did that?
I did do it.
I was just gonna say, I swear I remember that being done.
Because I wanted you clean and we couldn't get to the bathroom, I guess.
That's
But I
funny.
said I would never do
Do
that.
what you gotta.
Yes, and I said I would never
Mom, you
say
could
things that she
never
said that would
do
come
that
out of
to
my
me.
mouth. I
Don't do
can't
that.
think of one right now, but.
Don't do it.
Okay, Katie, go ahead.
Call it spit shine.
Can I ask 2 at one time?
Okay.
Mom, I
One
thought you
first.
were gonna say
Ask one,
the one
2 in a
where
row, but
you
ask.
used to say how grandma
Look
used
at
to
me.
make
There's
you
so many
take your
questions. You said
toothbrush
one
to
and
clean
3.
with.
Go ahead, ask a
And
question.
you said
Ask one question. Where's your phone at?
you said how you hated that, so I thought that's what you were gonna say.
Okay, I gave you all
Right-
that time, you don't have
right
any
up
answer?
there.
You don't have a
You
question?
got like 8.
Trying to pick one.
Okay, then I'm gonna ask you one. Unless you have yours.
I have one.
Okay.
Was there a time when you were younger when you questioned God and His plan for your life?
Not really. Not that I can remember. Very honestly, because probably just because of the way we grew up,
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't know what his plan was gonna be.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I didn't really know. Well, we grew up in the church, and Grandma was just a wonderful example to us. And then we got pulled from church to church with her
Ah.
second husband. Yeah. And then when we finally started going to Central's, when I met your grandpa. But I didn't really question. I just believed that he would be there. He would show me. Because I just seen how my mom had lived, probably because of how my mom lived.
Let me ask a follow up to that because you mentioned Potter. What was your relationship? Well, no, sorry. How long was Jim Potter in your life, and how did you feel about him and your mom? And basically, how did you feel about your mom because of him?
10 years. He's in our life 10 years.
Married 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
How long did they date before that?
Not long enough. Yeah, and actually she, at a certain point, she had questions whether she would go through the marriage or not, and his own brother came to her to try to tell
Go
her.
through the marriage, as in go through with getting married?
Yes.
His brother came to her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with some warnings, and she went to the pastor, and the pastor basically said he thought they should marry. And difficult times started after 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. So now, I don't know too much of that story with Potter. So was he, did he cheat on her?
No.
He was physically, mentally?
Mentally and emotionally, but he just had some problems, and he tried to separate her from everybody. Yeah, and it
He was
was
mentally and emotionally abusive to her. He was really mean to her.
very mean. The words were terrible, and
This was my mom's stepdad for 10 years. So my grandma and my grandpa divorced, and she remarried another man. And
she thought was a wonderful Christian. So yeah, it was very hard. He just had real emotional problems, and well, he had to usher in the church of God in the face. He hit him in the face in the church, and just there's a lot of violence, not towards me, but towards Uncle Chuck, and yeah, it was a hard time.
Was he physically abusive to Uncle Chuck?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
How much older is Uncle Chuck than you?
How old was Chuck when?
How much older is he than you, Uncle Chuck?
4 years.
So what age were you when he came in your life?
In middle school. I was in middle school.
Oh, so all through high
No, I
school.
was in 6th grade, going into 6th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
All middle school.
All your
Yeah.
teen years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember my cheerleading coach would say to me how lucky I was to have such a wonderful stepfather and supportive, and I just smile and say thank you
How did Uncle Chuck handle him?
very well for
Really?
what he went through. Yeah. Yeah, he really did, but he was very protective over my mom. He and John were going to be married, and they had a house, they were getting ready, so Chuck went over there and was staying at house, but he had to move home. But it was always somebody that
He
wasn't.
moved back home.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm. For her sake. Yeah. Yeah. And then she finally left. She did not go through with a divorce because she couldn't feel a release before the Lord. But she had left him when Josh was little. We were in Saginaw, and she was living apart from him, and then he finally got the divorce.
Oh.
So, yeah, neither divorce did she initiate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got a question, Ann?
What solidified your faith in your teen years?
Teen years?
Mhm.
Probably because I feel like I grew up from a baby into the church, you know. So I would say what solidified it for me was the faith that I saw in my mother, the experiences I went through, seeing God answer prayer, you know, knowing that God was real. And for me, and I know I shared that with RJ, one of my best birthdays ever was 9 years old, where we were in a revival, and I'd been seeking for the Holy Spirit for a few years, and on my birthday I was filled, you know. So it was those experiences, it was what my mother taught me, but what my mother lived in front of me, and, you know, relationship with God, church was very important to us. Yeah, that was our foundation.
So your piggyback on top of that is Sarah's question.
That was my question. Is share with us if you are willing to share with us about when you were filled with the Holy Spirit.
That was just beautiful. Remember we were taught to go up to the altar and seek, and it seemed like it'd been a year or two.
I can give you a comfortable chair and move back there.
Oh, I'm okay. You guys are about to be blinded here in a minute.
Huh?
You're about to be blinded here in a minute. That
Yeah.
I
sound
think
keeps
they'll be
going.
okay. The things right there.
All they gotta do is lean back.
Yeah.
And you see my feet,
There
right?
you go.
Yeah. So we were in a revival in Grand Haven, where my stepfather happened to be pastor at that time, and
Oh, I didn't know he was pastor.
Yeah, for a time, Church of God in Grand Haven. And there was a young evangelist that came through, and I was at the altar, and I was filled in the altar at 9 years old. It was just best birthday ever. Thought that then, thought that now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So were people like seeking for the Holy Spirit right then? And then you went down there for that, or
Well, it was
happened to?
it was an altar call
Mhm.
at that time, so
Mhm.
and that's what I went to the altar for.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to see. And I was so thankful because when we have the infilling of the Holy Spirit, then we have His help. Yeah. And that's what I desire for my children and my grandchildren. RJ, remember we talked about that at the house one time? You were there with Mom and Grandma was there. And we talked about that. Yeah, that doesn't matter what age you are. You know, so God will fill you, and then gives you power to fight the enemy. Right? Yeah, to
Yep.
stand.
Go back to your dad. So your dad left when you were 3?